It's Tuesday, March 28th, and this is now on HNN.
Police body cam video shows officers responding to Monday's deadly school shooting. I'm Cristian Benavides in Nashville, where another American community is reeling from gun violence.
New developments in the Red Hill tainted water crisis. Active duty service members are now suing the U.S. government.
Staff actually had to wrestle a loaded handgun out of a patient's hands.
Details on a disturbing new trend happening at Oahu's hospitals. These stories, plus we'll meet the athletes representing Hawaii in these Special Olympics World Games. That's coming up on This Is Now.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us here on This Is Now. Police have released dramatic body camera footage of officers in Nashville responding to Monday's school shooting.
Yeah, 6 people were killed at the Covenant School, including 3 children. And we want to warn you that some of the images in this report may be disturbing. Cristian Benavides reports from Nashville.
Body camera footage shows police officers running past hallways lined with cubbies as they responded to Monday's deadly school shooting. Surveillance video captured images of the shooter firing through a glass door to gain access to the Covenant School, a private Christian school in Nashville.
We have no evidence that individuals were specifically targeted.
Police identified the attacker as 28-year-old Audrey Hale, a former student. Police say the shooter's parents told them Hale was under a doctor's care for an emotional disorder, and they were unaware Hale had legally purchased 7 guns, 3 of which were used in the shooting.
Parents felt that she should not own weapons. They were under the impression that when she sold the one weapon that she did not own anymore.
Outside the school, a memorial to the victims, 3 school staff members and 3 9-year-old students, is growing. Many say the quick actions of emergency responders prevented an even deadlier attack.
The training that was done, coordination with the police and fire and Office of Emergency Management, all of that yesterday, we know, saved lives.
Members of this tight-knit community are coming to show their support. Many know someone affected by this tragedy.
I can't stop thinking about the parents who woke up today and the families who woke up today with an empty bed.
Carolyn Lucas came to pay her respects. Her children attend a nearby school.
You just wonder when is the call coming for you?
This is one of more than 3 dozen mass shootings this month alone in this country. Cristian Benavides, CBS News, Nashville.
NBC Nightly News also spoke with a friend of the suspect. The woman claims she received messages from Audrey Hale before the shooting happened. Averiana Patton says Hale's messages were alarming as she said something bad was about to happen.
What would you do if you were sent a message like that? You know, it was just like, hold on, I don't really know. I sent the message to my dad. And I was like, do you think I should say something or find somebody? He texted back, yes, in all caps. So after that, that's when I started making calls. I called the suicide prevention hotline, and then they told me to call the Nashville's deputy office.
Now, for more on the tragedy in Nashville, we want to bring in Hawaii News Now's Washington correspondent, Peter Zappa. Now, Peter, we're learning more about this mass shooting. What is the White House saying?
Yeah, Ashley, obviously it's a tragic situation and the White House understands that. And for the second day in a row, sending their condolences, but also talking about the need from their perspective for gun reform, for gun safety reform in this country. The president's talked about it multiple times today. He said he's already done what he can do by way of gun control and by way of extending background checks and things like that. He's now calling on Congress to act. He wants to ban assault weapons, but he has to know, and a lot of Democrats have to know, there just isn't the appetite for that on Capitol Hill right now. But obviously the president's still very frustrated, still wants Congress to build on some legislation they passed last year. Unclear if there is going to be any movement on Capitol Hill, given how divided it is right now.
Yeah, have we heard any response or reaction from congressional leaders or lawmakers on the Hill?
We did hear from both pairs of leadership today. Republicans are sticking by their what they've always felt is their platform on this issue, is saying they want to hear all the facts first, and they don't want to make this political. They are blaming Democrats for making this political, but it's really rinse and repeat. Every time we have one of these mass shootings, Republicans say they don't want to play politics with this. They send thoughts and prayers, and they don't call for any action necessarily, while Democrats immediately call for action. Democratic leaders today on Capitol Hill saying that they do want to move on another assault weapons ban like they passed in the last Congress that eventually died because there was no appetite in the Senate. They want to keep expanding on these gun control measures, and Republicans say we need the facts and we want to focus on mental health. They don't want to touch guns. So this impasse is just going to continue, as it always does after every mass shooting event.
Yep, sure seems that way. And another big story out of Washington today, the state of the banking industry. Now, this after the collapse of multiple banks. There was a hearing today where top banking regulators testified. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, Ashley, you had an official from the Fed, the Treasury, and the FDIC all in front of the Senate Banking Committee getting hammered by both sides of the aisle because there are still so many questions as to how this crisis came to be and how we can prevent it in the future. Now, you have to understand, all three of these officials acknowledge that there's still a review process going on, so they could only say so much. But you had someone from the Fed saying that, yeah, there may have been some regulator supervisory issues that maybe they should have caught, but they're also saying that they're a bit handcuffed, that regulations that were rolled back in 2018 may have led to some of these issues that we've seen, that Silicon Valley Bank and these other banks were not under the strictest of supervision that some regulators might like to see. So they want more tools in their arsenal to address these kinds of issues. Meanwhile, lawmakers are saying, look, you saw these issues coming. You did not act quick enough. You need to do better. So Republicans are really stuck on the, well, why didn't regulators do more side of things? And some progressive Democrats are saying we need more regulation. We need to give them more tools. So it's not like we got a ton of answers out of this today, but we know where both sides stand.
All right. Hawaii News Now's Washington correspondent Peter Zampa. Always appreciate the time, Peter.
We have new video today of the man accused of beating his girlfriend's landlord to death. Kendall Gray was booked at the sheriff's station this morning. He allegedly killed 64-year-old Alvin Matsumoto when he was evicted from a unit on Sheridan Street. The 23-year-old was indicted for second-degree murder last week. His bail is set at $1 million.
A man is arrested for allegedly bringing an unregistered ghost gun into an Oahu hospital. And we're told this is not an isolated incident. Investigative reporter Allison Blair has more on this disturbing trend.
Nurses I spoke with say guns, knives, and machetes are just some of the weapons that have been recently confiscated inside Oahu's hospitals. It's a widespread problem that has many frontline caregivers fearing for their safety.
It's not an everyday thing, but it's not an uncommon thing either. There was an incident at Queens a few months back where the staff actually had to wrestle a loaded handgun out of a patient's hands.
The head of Hawaii's Nurses Union says this photograph shows a knife that was discovered in a separate incident.
He had sliced the mattress to hide the knife in there, and you see the handle sticking out so he could grab it quickly.
One of the most recent scares happened Thursday at Straub Medical Center. Sources tell us a patient who'd been admitted to the hospital at least a week became irate with staff and stormed out. Inside a backpack he'd left behind, hospital staff discovered what sources say was a ghost gun along with a high-capacity magazine. HPD confirms the 34-year-old felon was arrested when he returned looking for the bag. At last check, he was still in jail, being held on warrants. We sent a list of questions to officials at Straub, specifically asking what protocols are in place to prevent weapons from getting inside the facility. A spokesperson declined to answer, saying in a statement, "Due to the ongoing investigation by HPD, we will reserve comment at this time." A source inside Straub tells us it's at least the 5th incident involving a deadly weapon at the facility in the past year.
There's way too much violence against healthcare workers. There shouldn't be any.
Ross says overall, Hawaii's hospitals need to do more to keep weapons out. Things like installing metal detectors and conducting bag checks. He also wants facilities to consider hiring off-duty police officers for security, saying he dreads the thought of getting a phone call that someone's been hurt or worse.
It's inevitable that's going to happen one day. It's happened in the mainland. We've had shootings and even mass shootings in hospitals, healthcare workers killed.
The hospitals we talked to wouldn't provide us with any official numbers about how often weapons are found. The union says employees aren't notified either. Queens is the largest hospital system in the state. We asked what it does to keep weapons out of its facilities. A spokesperson told us in addition to signs that say no weapons allowed, security teams also conduct screenings in emergency departments and ambulance bays. Queens Hospital is also in the process of providing staff with a personal safety device that sends a silent alert to security when activated. Allison Blair, Hawaii News Now.
There's been a new development in the wake of the ongoing Red Hill water contamination crisis. 3 active duty service members are now suing the U.S. government over the fuel spill and the resulting health impacts. The service members all complained of adverse health effects from ingesting the water. One said his wife had a sudden resurgence of seizures, another said his whole family got violently ill, and the third was reportedly taken to the emergency room for, quote, severe toxic exposure symptoms. We're told they filed a pre-litigation claim yesterday and will file a federal lawsuit in Honolulu soon. We reached out to the military for comment.
Lawyers are saying this lawsuit is significant because typically service members cannot bring line-of-duty injury claims against the government. However, their law firm argues that the doctrine, quote, cannot be used against off-duty service members that showered in and drank water poisoned by the Navy in their own homes. The law firm is holding a community meeting to discuss its pending litigation tonight at 6 at Kehi Lagoon Memorial and on Thursday at the AmVets West Oahu Veterans Center in Eva Beach.
And new this morning, Senator Mazie Hirono questioned our top military leaders about Red Hill. She wanted to know whether unfunded projects in Hawaii to improve infrastructure would be addressed. We edited her question and the response for both time and clarity.
There is the potential for significant cuts to the cost of living of Hawaii service members, and I've noted this before. And I think that these huge cuts for Hawaii service members are unjust and unfair, and I hope that there will be a reconsideration.
Hirono also asked the military to reconsider the decision to cut the cost of living allotment for Hawaii service members.
Environmentalists want to know why the Department of Health waited 2 months to tell the public about water contamination at Kunia Village. State officials detected PFAS chemicals in the system in October and November, but they did not notify the public until January 20th. Water suppliers are required to report contamination to the health department, but in this case, it was the state doing the testing as part of a study. Under state law, the department has 14 days to tell the public.
When you go through the timeline that they provided, it's unbelievable. It's actually quite shocking.
I think there was some confusion within our own operation of how that was going to be reported. So it got stuck in one section that was doing the study, and it didn't get reported in a timely fashion to our compliance section that would, initiate that notice within the department.
State health officials say they've clarified their internal process so this doesn't happen again. Well number 3 is now shut down and hundreds of residents are on bottled water indefinitely.
A federal judge says former Vice President Mike Pence must testify before a grand jury investigating the January 6th Capitol attack. That's according to multiple sources familiar with a recent ruling that remains under seal. At issue are conversations Pence had with former President Donald Trump leading up to the riot. Pence can appeal, but the ruling is a significant win for special counsel Jack Smith. He's been trying to get documents and testimony from Pence for his probe into Trump-aligned efforts to overthrow the election. One of the sources says the D.C. judge is allowing Pence to decline to answer questions related to his actions on January 6 itself. That's when he was serving as president of the Senate for the certification of the 2020 presidential election. Trump has repeatedly lost executive privilege assertions he's tried to make as a part of the probe. Let's go ahead and give you a live look outside now. This is the camera overlooking the Makiki area. Just a few minutes ago, this camera was whited out. The downpours are coming through, and we know this because our First Alert weather team has been tracking some changes in our weather. For more on this, let's send it over to Guy Hagi.
By tonight, Oahu is going to be enveloped by the rain, as well as tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon as well, and just a few passing showers for the east end of the state. So the rain's going to start easing up by Friday morning, although over in Kauai they'll likely still see some of those showers into Saturday. And then when trade winds come back on Friday, we'll see some windward and Mauka showers, but most of those showers from Friday into the weekend will be on the light side, even though we're expecting a cloudy weekend. So again, heads up, Kauai and Oahu, scattered thunderstorms today and tomorrow, especially this afternoon through tomorrow. And then even though we'll have some scattered showers going into the weekend, most of those showers will be lighter, and those cloudy skies will continue into the weekend as well.
Now the latest from a Mississippi town hammered by a monster tornado last week that killed 22 people in all. Now the death toll was revised down yesterday, but the damage from the twister clearly visible across the state, stretching all the way into Alabama. Omar Villafranca has more.
The devastation goes on for miles as the memories are piled up into heaps. Days after the powerful tornado touched down, residents are still looking for anything worth saving in the debris.
Can't put it to words. This is unbelievable.
Jeremy Grayson was out getting food when the twister tore through his block.
I ran back here.
What did you expect to see?
I was expecting to see a house, but I couldn't see nothing.
What'd you hear?
Cries out for help. You can hear it echoing.
All the way through?
All the way through.
Grayson has lived here for his entire life.
It was forgotten about before. This is basically the most attention that we didn't have in our lives.
Are you worried that the state and other people are going to forget about you here and you're not going to be able to rebuild? That's a feeling shared by others in Rolling Fork.
How can we rebuild something and we don't have nothing to build our foundation with? We need help.
Rolling Fork is located in Sharkey County, Mississippi, where 35% of the population lives below the poverty line. It's among the poorest counties in the state, which itself has almost 20% of its population below the poverty line.
There's a real lack of jobs around in the area.
But Grayson says the community will still rebuild.
The life is still here. Community is still here. It's just the material things that are gone.
Grayson says he got an alert on his phone, but he did not hear the sirens. Emergency officials tell us the tornado formed so fast they didn't have time to activate the sirens. Omar Villafranca, CBS News, Rolling Fork, Mississippi.
Twitter CEO Elon Musk says soon only paid subscribers will show up in the For You feed. Starting April 15th, the tab you see when you first sign in will only recommend accounts who pay for the premium Twitter service. Also, non-subscribers will not be allowed to vote in polls. Musk said the change was to battle bot accounts, but he's also been pushing people to pay $84 a year for Twitter. Last week, Musk announced that the free blue check mark was also going away. Users who want to keep it will soon have to pay $8 a month or $84 annually.
In the heat of World War II, their hard work kept American tanks rolling and bombers flying. 80 years later, they're still being celebrated. Here's NBC's Andrea Mitchell.
From the factory floors to recruiting posters and songs, Rosie, the Riveter. Few women in American history are as iconic as Rosie the Riveter.
How old working in the factory?
Well, I just graduated out of high school.
Putting their lives on hold to build the bombers and tanks that helped win the war. These Rosies, most in their 90s, 4 older than 100, are now being honored for their service.
We worked like heck to beat the guys' butts out of there for doing what they did to our boys out in Pearl Harbor.
From a national necessity, starting a revolution for women in the workplace, and proud of it.
Up until 1941, it was a man's world. And they didn't realize how capable women are. There's nothing I don't think that a woman can't do. It's up to the woman whether she wants a career raising a family or whether she wants to be an astronaut. We have that choice now.
Today, invited to Washington on an honor flight usually reserved for World War II veterans, dedicated to the Rosies, asking tour guides to let them pose in front of the suffragette statue in the Capitol, and visiting the World War II memorial.
We weren't doing it for honors or rewards. We were doing it to save our country and save our brothers and uncles and aunts, whoever were working.
Doing all that crappy work in a factory so they can put their lives on the line, it was worth it to have them come back.
A group proud of all they accomplished in the war and for women for years to come. Andrea Mitchell, NBC News, Washington.
All of them. So grateful for them too. And let's do some good news now, you guys. The 2023 Special Olympics World Games is happening this summer, and our Emily Cristobal is featuring some of the local athletes who will be representing Hawaii.
Hawaii is getting some huge representation this year as Special Olympics athletes from around the globe get ready to compete on the world stage. This year, Hawaii is sending 2 of its athletes to compete in Berlin, Germany. Tess Moore and Kalei Lee have been training for months to get ready for the World Games. The 2 Wahine from the Big Island are veteran athletes, being a part of the Hawaii Special Olympics for over 25 years.
You have the gold medals with you right now. Just curious, how many gold medals do you have?
Plenty. Plenty, the whole medals.
And they're hoping to win more. Kalei will be showing off her strength in powerlifting and has been following a strict training schedule.
Squat, bench, and deadlift.
And you go to the gym how many times?
2 days actually.
And how far do you walk every day? 1 mile.
1 mile.
She's even cutting out a Hawaii staple.
But you don't eat anymore.
The rice.
No rice.
Tess has also been training really hard, eyeing to win gold in the 100-meter dash, shot put, and 4x100-meter relay. We asked how she wants to represent Hawaii, and Tess says,
"Show me aloha and big smile. And don't be shy. And stand for yourself."
And one motto that's getting them through this whole process is a Special Olympics oath.
Let me win. If I cannot win, let me be brave in the tent.
Joining the athletes will also be the bocce official Shavana Mahoe, the first athlete official to represent Hawaii at a national or world competition, and Officer Kuili Dela Cruz, who will participate in the law enforcement torch run. If you'd like to send a team from Hawaii to Berlin for the World Games, you can find a link to donate on our website. This is Emily Cristobal for Hawaii News Now.
Oh, wow. I love their can-do spirit.
Oh, yeah.
That's so inspiring. And honestly, they can probably lift more than I can. I haven't gone to the gym in a long time.
Go girls, represent. I love it.
Yes, good luck.
Yeah, some more good news. Here's a good reason to try your hand at gold digging. So
Wow.
An Australian man found a 10-pound gold-filled rock. You see it right there. It's dubbed the Lucky Strike Nugget and is worth more than $160,000. The person who valued it said the nugget is a, quote, once-in-a-lifetime find. And the amateur gold digger found the rock in the state of Victoria in an area known as the Golden Triangle. So his name hasn't been released, but he used an $800 detector to find the valuable gem.
$800 detector.
I mean, it's worth it. He covered the cost of his detector.
I feel like that's something that maybe the Golden Nugget Hotel in Las Vegas might be interested in taking off his hands for a little bit. I don't know. Let's go ahead and give you guys one more live look outside. A friendly reminder, the weather is changing for the western half of the state. So our viewers on Kauai and Oahu, you can expect some changes into the night. Be sure to tune in to later editions of Hawaii News Now for your full First Alert forecast.